To order this February 26th Pink Shirt Day, which is symbolic to stand up against bullying. And in the current environment, I think it's very appropriate. And I thank the members of the board that did clash with the tie and wore pink. So with that, it brings me to a more somber moment, and that's a moment of silence in honor of our board member, Madeline Bodenstein, who passed away suddenly on January 29th. So this is our first meeting since we actually had her. She was on the cruise ship speaking to us. Madeline was a valued member of this board and a great friend, and she was willing to do whatever. She sat on whatever committee she was asked for. She was on bargaining. She was on the HR, on finance. Quite a remarkable lady. All respects, she was highly thought of here at the board, but also in the community. She had a very positive influence, remarkable commitment, and kindness will be greatly missed. It was a privilege to work alongside her. So if you can, I'd like you to rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. And when we get an opportunity, this will be presented to her husband, Kenny, on behalf of her time here at the board. So on behalf of the board, we acknowledge that York Region is located on the traditional territories of many Indigenous people, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis people, and the treaty territories of the Haudenosaunee, Mississauga, the First Nation, Credit First Nation, and the William Treaties First Nation. Today, this area is home to many diverse Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as our closest First Nation community. I'll ask board members if there's any disclosure of interest. I will ask Member Purchell and seconded by Member Cartalucci for confirmation of the minutes of the 22nd board meeting. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? That carries. I would like the permission of the board to change our agenda here and ask the deputation to come before the presentation. That way, if they wish, you're more than welcome to stay, but if you don't, you will be able to leave early. Are we okay with that? I'll ask Member Fazal and Member Taylor to move the agenda change. All in favor? And one last one. So our procedural bylaw calls for 5 minutes. You can keep your presentation within 10 minutes. So I'll ask Board Member Purchell and Cartalucci to move. We waive the bylaw to our procedural bylaw to allow for 10 minutes. All in favor? That carries. I take it Mr. Lindley is coming forward. Good evening and welcome, sir. Or I said it's morning already. I told, unfortunately, Member Jackson had a family emergency and had to leave, but I told her, you know, some of our days start at 5 in the morning, so it is close to evening almost.
Right, can you hear me?
I can,
okay,
thank you.
Good. Yeah. The keyboard doesn't work? No, okay. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee. I'd like to give you some background as to why I'm here. For the last few years, I've been...
Sorry, sir. Can you just pull the mic a little bit closer to you? Just give it a yank and tilt it. There you go.
Okay. I just want to get this. Okay. Right. start again. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee. I'd like to give you some background as to why I'm here. For the last few years, my wife has been telling me things have changed in Aurora. And recent events have made me realize that I was completely out of touch, and surprisingly, she was right. On the 5th of December, my wife and I attended a meeting at Aurora for Ward 1 that was arranged by Ron Weiss, who said he'd be here, but he obviously hasn't made it, with the ratepayers from Ward 1. And at this meeting, I was shocked to hear the feedback from our 3 associations on local break-in and experience entries. In particular, Old Aurora and the Hill reports were almost unbelievable. To me, it sounded like a crime zone, or for those of you that are familiar with computer games, Grand Theft Auto. After the meeting, I said to my wife, I'm going to look into this. However, on Sunday afternoon, December 22nd, my wife received a WhatsApp message from our friends who live 400 meters down the road on Willow Farm Lane. I've taken some extracts of the message that I want to convey. And I've changed the names to protect their privacy, but their son and daughter-in-law are referred in the message to as the kids, who are house sitting with their parents' home while their home in Newmarket is repaired. I wanted to let you know that our Aurora house was broken into on Saturday night. They were looking for cash and jewelries. Our kids left around 4 and were gone for 3 hours. The thieves scaled the kitchen wall and cut the camera wire and broke through our bedroom window. Luckily, they didn't destroy anything. Got some cash from Deborah's room and a few rings, but overall, we were lucky. Needless to say, kids are beyond freaked, and they're at the cottage now. Deborah is talking to a counselor. Hope she settles soon. I'm just so grateful they didn't destroy the house. Sorry. Deborah and Peter's room was a disaster. All their clothes were thrown on the floor. They ripped the baby monitor in Tim's room from the wall, as some record onto phones. Always upsetting. They left the place and robbed another the same night. There were 2 robberies last week on the street behind us. I can't begin to express my frustration upon hearing this news. Clearly, this was no longer Aurora of just 5 years ago. After Christmas, I spent some time looking at the stats. Fortunately, the police safety portal is excellent. My compliments to the people who have raised it. Albeit missing some key intersection data that would make doing comparisons by street for the last 4 years easier. This presentation, I want to stress, is data-centric. It's not accusatory. The objective is to use the data to illustrate the serious challenge that has developed over the last 5 years and will not be fixed overnight without extra resources, in our opinion. My analysis has been prepared focusing on Aurora Newmarket data because that's where I live. I'm not saying that other municipalities are to be ignored. To the contrary, this is a huge issue throughout the GTA and surrounding areas. Our position, as in ratepayers, is that it requires a new approach and additional resources. Last week's presentation on Project Dusk is a step in the right direction. We need to build on it, fund it, and make it last for 5 years. More on this later. I'd also like to emphasize my point that I made on page 2, which is my home is my castle. And when thieves enter your safe place, the impact on individuals is devastating. Interestingly, Project Dusk also referred to this concept. So it's not as if it's an alien concept to the law enforcement agencies or our courts. We need to protect our communities. Turning to the stats, they are troubling. Break-in entry and robbery, which is the way I classified the data, in Newmarket and Aurora has increased 127% since 2020, with an annual compound growth rate over the 4 years of 23%, while the economy has grown at an annual compound growth rate of 1.6%. This means that break-in entry and robbery rates have exceeded economic growth by a multiple of 14 times. Do police have the resources to cope with the material increase in break-in entry? Also, as a business person, I would be delighted if my business was growing 14 times the general gross domestic product. On Willow Farm Lane and Tree Grove Circle, we have seen residential break-in entry rates in 2024 increase by 400%, increasing from 2 incidences in 2023 to 10 in 24, of which 6 break-ins occurred between October and December that aligns with Project Dusk when they talk about these are winter kind of crimes as soon as the time change kicks in. On January the 5th, there was another break-in on Willow Farm Lane. Of concern is average crime solved for residential break-in and enter from 2020 to 23 is 20%, or 1 in 5. In Newmarket, it's 27%, 1 in 4. I excluded 24 data because some of those crimes are still being solved in 25. Last year in Aurora and Newmarket, 164 homes were subject to break-in and enter. At least 328 people have had their sanctuary violated. I can attest to messages on the St. Andrews Estate group chat while these crimes were going on that were how unnerving it was. People were scared. The messages were chaotic. My Google search on break and entry incidences being reported in the press was an eye-opener. It's happening all over. References to gun-related crime are up. Recently on the CBC Evening News, they interviewed a father in Orangeville who suffered a home invasion. Unbelievably, the thief held a gun to the father's head when his young daughter came out of her bedroom to see what the noise was. Incidents of gun crimes are up. When and how does this get stopped? Motor vehicle theft grown 66%. Crime solved in Aurora 13%, 1 in 7. In Newmarket, 17%, 1 in 6. I appreciate in the last year, those motor vehicle thefts have dropped by a third, but the crime solved is not being increased. Yes, the thefts are down, but that says that we don't really understand how we can prevent it all. Dawn Gallagher Murphy, our MPP, when I spoke to her about this, told me one of her Newmarket residents told her that thieves had tried to steal his Toyota Tundra 3 times from his driveway. So Newmarket, Aurora, East Gwillimbury, we are the smaller populations, I understand that, but we are consistently in the top 3 municipalities from an annual compound growth rate crime for the last 4 years as these criminals move north. However, I don't want to belabor the stats. So how do we fix this? I believe that a task force with motivated members of the community and appropriate representatives from City Hall, regional, provincial, and federal government need to develop a medium-term project plan. 5 years is what I envisage, and implement it and monitor the results. The results of Project Dusk, in my opinion, show that the targeted plan will work. I'm suggesting an agile task force with a 5-year clear mandate, funding, and accountable leadership that can adjust plans as events unfold. For example, I've heard Doug Ford talking about getting the federal bail laws changed for some time. Nothing seems to be happening. This is where, in my opinion, some civilian members of this task force can work with our elected leaders of government to drive the change. The neighborhood watch concept needs to be revisited. How does it really work? How are the benefits measured? Who monitors effectiveness and how? Clearly, residents supporting the police is beneficial. I don't believe the model is working as well as it could be. We've been told that when reporting a crime, there could be a delayed response of 20 to 25 minutes before a cruiser gets on site. How does that help residents? These break and entry are in and out crimes. We have trails backing onto many of the houses. At night, the trails are not lit. There are no cameras. Thieves must love it, and our residents are worried. In my 2 months involvement with Neighborhood Watch, my view is it's an orphan and it needs some attention. And I'm not being critical here. It's just, this is my view. I'm not trying to make enemies here. For example, I wanted to reach out to Newmarket Neighborhood Watch leaders to invite them to this presentation because their stats are part of my presentation. I contacted the York Region Police representative by email. The web link he sent was wrong because the portal was updated in January 25. He never responded when I asked for a new link. I found a link on the portal and sent 3 emails to Neighborhood Watch at yrp.ca, explaining who I was, what I was doing, and why I'd like to reach out to Newmarket contracts. Not one email was received in response. Similar responsiveness has been experienced by others from the Northwest Aurora program, where reports of suspicious activity is responded to a week later. Yeah, we have ideas. Why can't you set up a portal that Neighborhood Watch participants can directly upload photos of suspicious vehicles, input motor vehicle registration plate numbers, etc. The police can then search the database. I can hear the gasps already of you're not allowed to do that. But we as citizens of Canada write the laws. If we need to change it, we can do it. We need more CC cameras. Steph had an idea. Steph is sitting here as part of the Hill Neighborhood Watch. Steph had an idea about using drones to search the effectiveness, to search the areas of crime and high risk, saving valuable officer time and more efficient deployment of cruisers. Drones could be used.
Could I get you to sum up now?
Yeah, I'm very close to the end. Drones could be used especially on trails, could transmit information and dispatch. Low-flying drones are used worldwide by real estate agents, deliveries, and even to help find individuals in wooded areas. Perhaps we do a pilot study in Aurora or the northwest corner of Aurora, and we can see how it goes. I think things have reached a breaking point, and residents are reasonably asking what is going on and how do we get this fixed? How do we protect residents from the rise in crime? Wrapping up, we, as representatives of Aurora and Newmarket, are formally requesting the police board to prepare a plan to regain our safety and security in our houses, protect us from robbery and motor vehicle theft. The plan needs to be communicated appropriately through City Hall, and there need to be regular updates. One weakness I really want to stress is in City Hall, we do not have a good form of communication that works with the police. So that somehow we need to address that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the deputy? I'm going to ask the chief if you want to address a little bit of it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, sir, for your presentation. Very much appreciated. I know Deputy De Silva has already been engaged with you and your team. So we'll continue that dialogue past this meeting. There's a number of conversations have to be had about recommendations. One thing I do want to clarify, though, because I don't want it misrepresented in the media, if anything comes out of this, is our response time. For any priority 1 or 2 call, our response time is 7 minutes. So whoever provided the information, it's based on the call and what's going on at the time. But for any priority call, we can respond in 7 minutes or under. And that's some of the lowest response time in the GTA. So, and we've maintained that for many, many years. So, but many of the items you've brought up here, I think some can be addressed. I think there's some education on both sides to understand how a drone program works for us and what we do and how we use it. And there's a huge opportunity here, I think, on the Neighborhood Watch side of the business to engage in further discussion on that and rectify that. And I think that will help with the communication gap that you're talking about on between us, you, and any other community members, because we are looking to grow that always. So I'll leave it there, and Deputy De Silva will be in touch, and then we'll engage in further discussion. And, thank you, Chair.
Just before I get a motion to receive, I'm just going to reach back to you, Chief. We've heard this. You're sitting, my other hat is a mayor of another municipality.
Yes.
You know, we've got lots of fancy cars in King. We put the resources this year. York Region Council, one of the largest budget increases for police. And I think it's 150 civilian and police officers for 2025.
154. And I neglected to mention that, but yes, and we really appreciate Regional Council approving probably the second largest budget in the history of York Regional Police for this year. So further resources are coming from a municipal perspective, and any opportunity there is for us as an organization to access funds at a provincial or federal level, we take those opportunities at every chance we get. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Chief. I'll get Board Member Taylor, Board Member Faisal to receive the deputation. All in favor? That carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have a presentation making a difference in our communities. Chief, you'll introduce Karen?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, I will introduce, as many of you already know, but I will introduce our Senior Manager of Strategic Stakeholder Engagement, Karen Richards, who's going to walk the board through a presentation titled "Making a Difference in Our Communities" and all the excellent work her and the team and our organization, supported by the board, is doing. In short order, Karen will get at it, and if we'll answer any questions you might have. Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Good morning. I don't know if I need the microphone, but thank you for this opportunity to come and present to the board today. The presentation that you're going to be receiving today is really a complement to the board report that I've submitted to this meeting with some requests to the Public Relations Reserve Fund, because that's an area that the board has really supported us in the past. And from my own personal standpoint, having been a York Regional Police employee for 20 years, I always think it's important that the board knows what York Regional Police is up to in our community, and they know the incredible work that our members are doing every day to support a variety of charities and the community members that we serve. So before I get into the charities that we support, I did want to let you know that the Special Events Office that I have the opportunity to be a part of is very busy. We execute 65 special events a year. Some of them, and one of our members, Mr. Faisal, said, "Do I need to attend all 65 of those that I got in a report?" No, because I'm going to tell you that's a lot of time that you're spending with us. So what we try to do, we want you guys to know about those 65 events that we run, but we work very hard with Mackenzie and Jacqueline to make sure that you are invited to what we call the Big 12. So those Big 12 include our recruit graduations, International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, our Black History Month, our Asian Heritage Month. We have a 50th anniversary of Women in Policing event coming up. So we know your time is valuable. We want to invite you to the ones that we would really like you to be at. And some of the other ones are more just for your awareness. You can always reach out to Mackenzie and let us know, is this one we should be at or not? We also receive a lot of invitations from the public. Our York Regional Police members attend 200 plus events a year, and many of you guys are invited to as well, but that's members of our executive leadership team. We rely very hard on our internal support networks, our members, to make sure that when we receive an invitation from the public, we make sure that we are out there and we are participating. Those could be community events, those could be fundraisers, those could be anything in between. Now we'll get into the charities we support. The charities we support, Mayor Taylor, I thank you for this, the question at the last meeting. How do we pick our charities and which are the charities that we support? Every single one of the charities that you see on this list are charities that are picked by our executive leadership team. Every charity that you see on this list, one member of our executive leadership team is the executive sponsor of that specific event. We don't just pick charities out of the air. There are reasons behind every single one of these. So Mayor Taylor, I was in the back row, so excited to jump in at the last meeting and answer some of those questions, because I think we've got a really nice range of charities here. Some of them I'm going to expand on throughout our presentation, but in 2024, York Regional Police events fundraised over $1.2 million for our partner charities. So we know that that is a really big number. Some of these I'm going to get into a little bit more. You're going to see Victim Services of York Region and the York Region Center for Community Safety throughout this presentation. Those are two charities we work very, very closely with because of their mandates and because of the low amount of government funding that they received at the provincial and the federal level. Some of the other ones that you'll see up there, Big Brothers Big Sisters of York Peel, that is someone that we participate with. We do a bowling challenge. Deputy Hammond is not here, but she would want me to mention that bowling challenge that we do every year. Canadian Blood Services, we actually host 3 blood drives in our atrium. One is happening tomorrow, where York Regional Police members can just come down to the atrium and participate in that event. We also run one every June, a blood donor clinic in the name of Garrett Stiles, who was killed in the line of duty, as blood donation was something that was very important to Garrett. In addition to that, we've also got Blue Door. We did a walk. We had a group of York Regional Police members last weekend that did the walk for the coldest night of the year. So those are just some of the not super big ones we do, but that list, I won't list them all. Everyone can read them, but that is our pretty concise list of the ones that we do every year. some of our major fundraising initiatives. I hope everyone around this table has heard of our Police Appreciation Night. That is the biggest event that we do. Over the past 2 years, over $1 million has been fundraised. And the story I'll tell you is in 2021, we were coming out of COVID. We weren't quite able to do it. 2022, we finally got to it. That Chief McSween called me up to his office and said, can our dinner rival Toronto's? And I said, not only can we rival Toronto, we'll be better than Toronto. So we really changed the focus of what we did with our Police Appreciation Night. The main theme of the night will always be to celebrate our officers and celebrate our civilians for what they do every day. But we also knew that this was a great avenue that we could raise some much needed funds as well. So as you'll see up there, over the last 2 years, over $1 million raised. We're very proud of that. The very first year, it all went to victim services. Last year, we expanded it to be to victim services of York Region and the York Region Center for Community Safety. And we know that our donors that participate in this have been with us, many of them for all 30 years of this dinner. So this year, again, is the 30th anniversary of our Police Appreciation Night. It's May 8th. I hope it is in everyone's calendar because we definitely want everyone in the room to be there. As of last week, when I finalized this PowerPoint, we were at 350. I can safely say we're over 400 right now, but I didn't change my PowerPoint. So we are over 400,000 right now. We're going to be recognizing over 50 award winners. We do have a sponsor that is going to be purchasing tables. So all of those award winners, their partners can be in attendance. And the 30th year, we're really going to celebrate the legacy of Pam. This is a huge accomplishment. We have committee members that have been with us for a very long time. Lena Bajoni's not here. I think Lena has sat on the Pam committee for 28 years. We have Blair MacArthur, who took over from his father, Leo MacArthur. We have Scott Cole. We have Charles Burns. We have a lot of people that have been with us for a long time. And this night is a chance to honor the legacy of community members, but also to recognize, some of the people that we've lost. We give out an award in the name of Rob Plunkett. We give out an award in the name of Garrett Stiles, and we do an award in the name of Leo MacArthur as well to really honor that legacy. So the chief has set a big fundraising goal for me for this year. I don't know if I want to say it yet. We'll see. Maybe I can come back in a month's time and tell you that, but we expect to raise more than we did last year. Despite this dinner happening for 30 years, I hope people take away, we want you to promote this event in the community. It always amazes me that some people have never heard of Police Appreciation Night, despite the fact it's been running for 29 years. Another big event we do is our golf tournament. So over the last 17 years, the golf tournament has raised $1.35 million. We welcome about 120 members of the community. Chair, that's a great looking outfit you have on there. So we'll welcome you back again this year. Yeah, no problem there. So we have supported a number of charities over the years. This golf tournament started as the tournament to support the Community Safety Village. And over the years, we've changed who those, what charity they're going to support. The board has sponsored that charity, this golf tournament for $10,000 for 17 years. So every single year, the board is a supporter of this tournament and they've been there. And again, we've supported the Community Safety Village. We've supported Community Living Central York. We've supported YRP Wellness supports. We've done victim services. And this year through, we're going to be, all funds raised at this tournament are going to go to the York Region Mental Health Community Care Center, which is a charity. Deputy Chief McCloskey sits on that board. And we know that that is a very important facility that we want to be able to support. So we've made a commitment for the next 2 years that the proceeds of the golf tournament will go to that facility for the next 2 years. Holiday Heroes. I am never going to stop coming and talking about how amazing this program is because we are so enormously proud of it. So since our launch in 2008, the initiative has fundraised over $2.1 million. And this year's campaign raised over 415. So when you sort of do, I'm not as smart as Jeff, but when you look at since 2008, it's 2.1 million. And in this year we raised 415. You can see that we have really ramped this program up over the last couple of years because we know that the need in the community is there. We've come in with some amazing community sponsors that really want to support this program. And tonight, one of the best things we get to do, we're going to give out checks. Chief McSween and Deputy Chief Almeida, our executive sponsor, are going to be there. We're giving out almost $300,000 in checks to 20 agencies, which includes every single food bank in York Region, all of our Salvation Armies, York Region Center for Community Safety, Community Living of Central York, 360 Kids. charities that are doing incredible work that may not have the capacity to raise funds themselves, we are able to direct this money out. So you're going to see some very happy pictures on social media after tonight when we're able to give those checks out to everyone. And we know our big community sponsor, I think we can say his name is Mr. David Coriat. Deputy Chief Almeida and I met with him last week to show him what we were doing with the money that he donated. And he was so happy. He says, mark me down for another 150K next year. So we know that by taking care of our sponsors, we know that this is a program they want to continue to support year after year. United Way. I'm going to mention United Way because we have partnered with United Way for 31 years. Deputy Chief De Silva and I have been championing that program for the last several years. The deputy, I think, is getting out of it this year, but I'm still in there. So 7.5 million over the last 31 years. We do a payroll pledge. Mayor Taylor, I see you laughing because I also sit on a municipal group of how we can get United Way going more. We definitely know the region of York drives our payroll pledge campaign. They drive our campaign. They really promote it. But where we have really focused our United Way campaign is to celebrate the charities that we're supporting. Just because our payroll pledge number may not be where we want it to be, look at all this money we're raising for United Way supported charities. So we've really pushed back on United Way that like, hey, we may not have the big figure that the region of York has, but look at all the money that we're allowed to raise over here. I have the picture of Region and Rhythm up there because I'm sorry that Vice Chair Jackson can't be here because she told me that was her favorite event she attended last year. So it's something that Chief McSween and Dan Kuzmic had bands. And I can tell you that is a United Way event that people love to get behind. So it's exciting to have something different that we can support. And we know that event will be bigger and better next year. We're going to have to go, we may have to go to a bigger venue in Newmarket because that thing sold out in about 2 days. So we know the capacity is there to really make that event bigger and better for everybody that wants to attend. Special Olympics Ontario. This is one that we have been supporting at York Regional Police for over 30 years. It's the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police charity of choice. Deputy Chief McCloskey is our executive sponsor who's showing his amazing cannonball form off there. We have in our report a request. The executive leadership team is enthusiastically all going to participate in the plunge this year. This is the Polar Plunge and the Race for Plunkett are 2 events that are run every year and they're open to the community. And we know those are not just York Regional Police members that come. They're open to the community. Anyone can come. We're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. This year's plunge is March 18th. And I flagged Special Olympics as well. We hosted the Special Olympics Summer Games in 2013. And not a month goes by that a member of YRP doesn't come to me and go, when can we host those games again? Because they were such an incredible opportunity for our staff members to get involved and do something different. We welcomed, over 1,000 athletes to York Region, and it still stands up as one of the best games that was ever hosted. So I put that in there because hopefully down the line, I'm still here for another 10 years. So fingers crossed, we will be able to host another provincial games because it's an amazing opportunity for our department. And we've also moved the Race for Plunkett now to August because that is closer to when we lost Rob in the line of duty. But we run that in Newmarket every year along the Tom Taylor Trail. It's an incredible event. We have over 300 people participate that, and it's a really, really nice way to remember Rob. And now we have some pictures. So some of the other events that are not as big, but they're worth flagging for everybody is the first picture, the joy of our ELT setting off confetti cannons. It happens once a year, the We Belong Pride Breakfast that we host, usually on June 1st or 2nd to kick off Pride Month. And all of those funds go, it is the 20th anniversary of the Pride parade that will happen in Newmarket this year. I believe it's around June 18th, but that's a big anniversary for them. We host that event in our atrium. It is the most unique event I think we host in our atrium with singers and dancers and performances, and it's important. It's a great way for us to connect with our community. In the top there, you see our Be Our Hero head shave. Deputy Chief De Silva loses all that wonderful hair once a year, and we raise all that money for pediatric oncology at Southlake. And Southlake Hospital had come to us probably in 2019 and wanted to know how YRP could get involved. We did a head shave every year, and Southlake told us about their dream of kids being able to get chemotherapy and cancer treatment in their home community instead of having to go down to Toronto. So Deputy De Silva and I heard that. We instantly said, this is what we have to do. We signed a $250,000 commitment back in 2019. With this year's head shave, we're going to finish that commitment. And for anyone who unfortunately has had to go to South Lake to the oncology department, the bell that people ring when they finish their cancer treatment has a York Regional Police logo on it. So with our donation, that's what we were able to put into place over at South Lake. And it's an event we're very proud of. It happens in Newmarket, Upper Canada Mall. If there was a mayor of Newmarket who wanted to shave his head and participate that day, we'd be more than welcome to get you signed up, and we can do that as well. Yeah, dancing shoes or shaving your head, but we're happy to share that information with the board. The head shave is also a really great opportunity for us to partner with EMS. Paramedic Services comes on board for that, all of our fire services. And in this picture, you see one of our officers, Constable Joey Wilson, whose daughter Charlotte went through treatment for cancer. Thankfully, she's doing amazing right now, but at 18 months, she had to go down to Sick Kids to get her treatment. So now you're able to get that treatment right at home, which is incredible. In the bottom, all those people that are looking freezing, that's the 360 experience. We host that down at our community safety village, the corporate challenge. So we have a team out there all night doing the work down there, and that is happening next Thursday. That event is happening. Deputy Almeida sat on the board, and Chief McSween and I have been out there together the last few years in the cold for that. And the last one I'll flag for you is Ride to Remember and Run to Remember. So those are events that honor our fallen officers. All funds raised go to the Run to Remember and to the Canadian Police and Peace Officers Memorial in Ottawa, as well as the Ontario Police Memorial down at Queen's Park. There you can see Deputy Almeida rode his bike for 600 kilometers from Aylmer to Ottawa. Deputies McCloskey, Hammond, and De Silva ran the 5 kilometers to get up to Parliament Hill. And Chief McSween and I were the cheering squad on Parliament Hill, welcoming them all in when they arrived there on the Saturday. So those are also 4 big events that we support, that you're going to see in the report that I put forward as well. And truly, the reason I wanted to come and I really wanted to come and present and tell the board, our officers are doing incredible work in the community. They really, really are. And policing is hard. We know for some officers it is a hard job, and having this incredible charities that they can dedicate their time to really gives them some light in the day, that they can come and do something that's super fun, it's rewarding, and it truly is life-changing for the participants that we support. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of the charities that we support every day.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Any questions of Karen? Member Taylor.
Thank you. Wow. I mean, it's overwhelming. It's you kind of experience it here, there, and everywhere. When you see it all put together, it boggles your mind just how much YRP is doing to engage in the community, support the community, and we realize just how incredibly fortunate we are that the members, get involved to this degree. So I think and another part is just, I was smiling a few times because I had the pleasure of being at so many of those events over the years, the Holiday Heroes kickoffs many times, and then the head shaves, and seeing the chief rock and roll for the United Way. It was quite a unique experience. And of course, the Pride Parade itself is just an absolute, symbol and spectacle of YRP's involvement and support for a diverse community. So I guess, getting over just being so blown away and so impressed by all the work, and really thinking how everybody this should be a presentation done at local council, so people just realize, wow, like it's very impactful. I guess the question I would have to go back to the discussion we have is, and I'm sort of now piecing it together and trying to put it into categories that make sense to me. But it would seem then that, so the YRP either runs its own events or supports third-party events that raise funds or help the community. And then there is 2 sort of cornerstone fundraising events, which is a golf tournament, but particularly PAN. So now we've got 3 buckets. And then the 4th one is that the board makes contributions to some organizations and some of these events. I think those are the 4 buckets of what I'm hearing and picking up on here. it's all amazing. It all makes sense. It goes back to my original question though, which is really this part, which does seem a little, it just goes back to my kind of like, or, you know, it doesn't seem to make sense for for us to have discussions at this table about, you know, this $3,000 or $5,000 and are we doing it again this year or not, or kind of thing. It's just, and so I guess I would, and we don't need to figure out how to, but what I would put back to us eventually or now or for the future is to say, so everything else is brilliant, makes sense. It's cornerstone events. It's community engagement. It's like you said, even for the officers to have that fulfillment of participating and giving back and meeting people, you know, amazing. So is there, it just would seem to me with two cornerstone events that then funnel money to organizations, why would we have a process here at this table? Why don't we just, and we don't need to figure it out now because I'm so new, I don't know enough maybe, but why wouldn't we just say, here's what we do every year. We give it to this or this, or we give it to the two events that then distribute it accordingly with some thought, because they're already going through a thought process and analysis of what makes sense, what doesn't on what given year, unless I'm missing something. But that was sort of what I was getting at. But I don't want that to take away from the wow portion, because that is, it is just, you know, I feel like I've known a lot from just attending so much about what YRP it does, but it even blew me away.
And I think Mayor Taylor, if I can, to you, through you, Chief, is we wanted to bring it all into one package. So what we spoke with Anitra about is let's come to the board with one request a year. Here's all the events that, because in the past, Mayor Taylor, I've come and, you know, done board reports for different things like Be a Hero head shaves happening every 2 years. Let's request some money. Holiday Heroes is coming once a year. We'd never come to the board for money before, truly. And with that public relations fund, there's that opportunity that I thought, I talked to Jeff, how much money is in that? Anitra, what do you need for your functioning for board events and that kind of thing? So let me come with one report. You guys will be involved in every signature event that we are doing, but let's see it all at once. And that's why that report that I put forward at the $150,000 level, Anitra told me that was my budget. I wasn't allowed to ask for any more, but we would, that is the total request. So you guys know that the board is supporting them throughout the year, because I think it is important for the community to know the board is supporting all of our big events as well.
Yep. And then I'm going to ask Anitra to chime in too.
Okay. Through the
Maybe-
chair. Sorry.
Oh, so you want to
No,
go?
No, go right
Yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to comment on, I think I know where you're going, Mayor Taylor, is that, and we don't have to solve it, but the question really is, do we ask for one chunk of money that supports all of those charities, but funnel it through the PAN dinner? So PAN,
Example.
instead of supporting 2 charities, it's supporting 10 charities. And we disperse it based on the numbers that we're talking about in our board report of the 150 that we're asking. That's what I think we're getting at, right? Because we're still supporting it.
Or and if that complicates it for PAN to have 10 when really it should be focused on 2, then we just perhaps we just say, here's the 100, is it 150,000? You know, we'll support PAN golf tournament and Holiday Heroes, and you guys, you know, within those, the golf tournament has ability to funnel and move, you know, according to what's requested, and then we're not going through processes. Oh well, what organization? I just don't. It just seems like an odd process for a police services board to be engaged in talking about where we're donating money. But again, I'm going to stop and leave it because I'm just pretty new to all this. But just maybe we can think about it over the next year. Or is there a more streamlined or a more logical way to, instead of having us going through a process to analyze and then you doing it for other events anyway? That was my thinking.
Through the chair to Member Taylor, the reason why it does come to the board's table and attention is that it's in the legislation. The seized monies funds designated to the boards in the legislation is for the boards to be responsive to the community. So by bylaw, which is common practice for all 43 boards in this province, we all established our own process. Again, this particular bylaw has undergone review in 2023, and we keep working through what works best. Last year, I believe we also had a secondary large report, which we found was much more effective. And this year, in speaking with Karen and Jeff, we figured a larger annual report to the board would be sufficient, because the seized money funds is not consistently, the same amount each year. We can't fix the commitment in advance. We also can't delegate the complete wholesale distribution of those funds. The board does have to actually review it and then say, okay, we will designate this way. What we've managed to create here is something that works, where it incorporates all of the different activities and charities that the police service is involved in, and they've brought that knowledge and awareness to the board tables. Then we can designate the funds or delegate to them, here you go, and who are you giving to? So that is the reason why it comes to the board table.
Yeah, I accept it has to come to the board table. I'm just thinking, is there not a bylaw that could just say each year, it's just like a standard, like we get them at, other levels of government, there's standard ones that come every year that say, again, this year we'll be delegating it or passing the funds, whatever they are, on to 2 or 3 things and then we're not in the position of going, well, what's this one about? And what do they do? And maybe that was an anomaly I witnessed. So maybe again.
Good. So I'm gonna ask, Basil, go ahead, board member.
I just want to say that as the times change, the requirements for donations and applying those donations to different charities changes too. So I think it's a good idea to go through it on a yearly basis and see where the funds are given.
Board member Purchell.
Policing is not just a police problem. It is a community problem. And I need, personally want to commend, obviously, you for the brilliant work and for the engagement of YRP. This gives breadth and depth to policing that accrues in a very different way. On the first presentation, there were concerns. Well, again, it's a whole of community problem. It's not just a police problem and when a police car shows up. It's a matter of reaching into the community and establishing relationships. And with the breadth and depth that you have established here, this is brilliant work. It's absolutely brilliant. And that's kudos to all, obviously, and certainly to the force for having engaged as directly and as extensively as they have. So well done.
So on those fine comments, I could ask board member Purchell to move and board member Carlucci to second. All in favor? Thank you for your presentation, Karen. So to get through the agenda, item 8, I don't think anyone needs to hold 8.1 or 8.2, but I am going to speak quick to 8.1 and congratulate you and thank you for your service. And we look forward to your expertise moving forward for another year. Thank you. So motion to receive the communications 8.1, 8.2, board member Faisal and board member Taylor, all in favor? That carries. I'll ask board members if there are items they wish for consideration. 9.1, 9.2, 9.3 has been pulled by the chief. 9.4 has been pulled by the chief. 9.5, 9.6, 9.7, 9.8's been pulled by the chief. 9.9, 9.10, 9.11, 9.12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Are there any other that board members wish to pull? So if not, I'm going to ask board member Purchell and board member Carlucci to move all of the ones on consent other than the ones that I called out. All in favor? That carries. It takes us to our first number, which is 9.8. Chief, annual report on public complaints.
9.3, right?
9.3, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So thank you, Chair. Through you, as you can see, the title of the report, Wellness Electronic Storage Detection Canine, and with a recommendation that the board approve the in-kind donation of a canine trained in wellness electronic storage. I'll have Deputy Almeida walk you through this process. I only bring it up because it's new for York Regional Police, and I think the board would want to know about it. So, Deputy.
Morning. Thank you, Chief, and through you, Mr. Chair. The board report in front of you explains that we're looking to the board for approval to receive an in-kind donation from Our Rescue, and I'll explain that organization in a little bit. Essentially, Our Rescue is looking to donate a canine that's capable of searching for electronic storage devices, and which will assist us in our child exploitation investigations. And similarly, we'll also have a dual role as a wellness dog that will assist our members both within that child exploitation unit, which you can imagine they're continually looking at some very disturbing material. And we will use that canine within our major crimes unit as well. York Regional Police is part of the provincial strategy, which is around protecting children from sex abuse and exploitation on the internet. And we will be one of 4 agencies that will be receiving this canine. To date, 3 other agencies who are part of the strategy have received the canine from our rescue and have reported very favorable results, as you can imagine. And so the good news is that our rescue is going to be shouldering the burden of the financial costs attributed to this canine. Our rescue is an American registered charity whose purpose is to support victims of child exploitation and sex trafficking. They've supported well over 110 law enforcement agencies throughout North America, including the 4 here in Ontario, being Peel, Toronto, Durham, and Thunder Bay. We would be the 5th if we were to receive that. And the provincial agencies that I just mentioned are all members of the provincial ICE strategy. We haven't received this canine before because our rescue was only capable of providing limited numbers of canine at a time, and we just happened to be next on the list. Should you grant or approve this in-kind donation, then we will gladly submit all the paperwork necessary to provide that we've vetted this agency accordingly. Subject to any questions.
Sounds great. Any questions of the deputy? If not, then I'm going to ask Member Cartelucci and Member Faisal to move in second. 9-3 that we approve. All in favor? That carries. 9-4. We talked about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we've probably beaten this one up enough, but the only comment I really wanted to make, subject to any questions, was that we parked it in one large report to give a good glimpse to the board of what all of the requests would be for the year versus coming to the board on numerous occasions. So I know Karen already talked about that. So subject to any questions from the board, I can just leave it at that.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Member Faisal, you'll move. Member Taylor, you'll second. All in favor? That carries. 9-8. Now we're at the annual report on public complaints.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, as you can see, this board is this report is for the board to receive. It's an annual report on our public complaints, and I'll have General Counsel Jason Fraser just provide some comment on this report to the board. Jason.
Thank you, Chief, and good morning, Mr. Chair. Through you, as much as we don't wish to have complaints against us, and complaints aren't necessarily a good news story, this is relatively good news in terms of the stats showing that our public complaints are going down, both in terms of conduct and service complaints. 6 months ago, when we had the semi-annual report, the stats were down as well, but there had been a backlog during the transition period between the Police Services Act and the new Community Safety and Policing Act with our oversight body. And we'd anticipated that once once LECA got through that backlog, that our stats would go up. And it turns out we weren't in that backlog. Our numbers really didn't go up from the first half to the second half of the year. And so we see our statistics remain relatively low. And I also want to compliment what's not in this report. Not only are we the lowest, in terms of complaints for the size of our service, we're getting some fairly good response from public complainants in terms of the service we provide in dealing with those complaints. For the last number of years, we brought in retired members of the police service, experienced investigators to do our public complaints process. And they work with public complainants to deal with the number one issue that people who complain about the police have, and that's they want to be heard. And so having experienced investigators who have longstanding experience with the police service and policing, listening to those complaints and personally addressing those issues, it leads to good outcomes, good resolutions, and the fact that we have a very low rate of requests for LECA to review the outcomes of our public complaint investigations. So overall, I think this is a good news story and shows that we're taking the appropriate steps to address public concerns when they arise. I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Moved then by member Purchell, seconded by member Cartolucci. All in favor? That carries. That finishes that. And then we move on to other business. And we've got the upcoming events before us and 11/2. It's the change of the board meeting date.
Yes, so this change is being requested because our board meeting for October 22nd falls at the time that the chair and the vice chair will both be attending the IACP this year. So they've requested of the board to postpone and reschedule that meeting to a week later on October 29th.
So I'll ask member Faisal and member Taylor to receive both 11.1 and 11.2. All in favor? That carries. We move on now into our private meeting. And sorry, yes. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Just a quick word of thanks to the chief, the executive team, and certainly Deputy Hammond. An issue that has been of a great deal of interest and concern by my friend, Mr. Cortolucci, and myself is equipment. And I had the privilege of meeting with your training team. Remarkable folks over there. I believe it's Staff Sergeant McHugh and Sergeant Hull. The deputy was there. We walked through the discussion about particularly, but not limited to, body armor. There are other things that I'd like to talk to them about, including tactics and training, but that's for another day. Just a word of commendation to all, just extraordinary expertise, extraordinary talent, extraordinary experience. I'm really pleased to see that the new body armor is in the works. That's necessary because of the threat environment. I'm really happy to see that, again, the professionalism that I've come to understand about this force is very much at play. And that's in the interest, obviously, of every police officer that's walking around with stuff that is currently, in my view, completely inadequate. The exchange was thorough, very, very professional. We exchanged some interesting experiences from different perspectives. And again, commendation to all for the great work you're doing. And principally, the issue here, as my friend and I have talked about privately and otherwise, it's the safety of the officer out on the street. The threat environment, again, is increasing dramatically. And if there was a single officer that had protection that he doesn't have right now, that would be a lot. But this is for the entire force, and well done to all. And with gratitude, obviously, to the province for having funded part of this. That's an essential thing. And yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity to not only improve safety, but think about other issues. And that's all accrues to all of you. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, the private meeting, I'm going to look for a recommendation by member Taylor, member Faisal to move into our private session. All in favor?